It's just weird suggestions, like normal sci-fi things that I thought would happen, like didn't. No evil programming in a robot, even though there's like 15 telegraphs that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Christopher Nolan took that out of the script.
Oh, that's right, because that was one of the original things, right? Was the
evil Chinese marine robots.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay, so
I
guess we'll reserve. So anybody who's looking for an explanation of the movie, I think we are going to reserve our spoilers conversation for just sort of discussing instead of actually like unpacking some of this stuff. So yeah, read the post on the site. But so here are some of the changes. Do you want to go through these, Ant?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but we'll just go really.
So
like Murph's a dude, right?
Yeah.
Murph's
So in further adding to Kofi's theory about Christopher Nolan hating male children, the Murph character was originally a boy and was switched out to be a female so that they could have this relationship.
It's funny. I mean, so there's little things like the spaceship spinny thing was originally meant because that was used to keep the wormhole open because the wormhole is trying to collapse around it, and they used the spinny thing to capture the wormhole and to use it to go into it. It's very nerdy, but when they do go into it, they stay there. So like when they get sucked in, you can still see them. So on Earth, they can look up in a telescope and still see the astronauts in the spaceship getting sucked in the hole. But they skip that. There's so the planet they go on first, the water planet was originally an ice jungle planet with animals frozen in the ice, and like they explain that like the jungle led the water into the ice, which gave oxygen to the animals frozen in the ice.
Yeah.
Very weird. There's a Life-a-Pi glowy fractal creature that Matthew McConaughey saves from death, and this is kind of like the they that the movie talks about, right?
Is the fractal creatures.
Yeah. So then they go. The next place they go is a Chinese space colony. Taze is dead. Or Tars is dead way early on. Like he gets fucked way before they get to anything, right? So Doyle's in the entire movie. When they get onto the Chinese space colony, Chinese marine robots take them under control because they're like, we need to control you. We'll give you food, everything you want, but you need to stay here until we get orders. And Matthew McConaughey's like, you're not going to get orders because shit's gone. And they're like, you're not supposed to have this. We're going to take this and blah, blah, blah. Then Case just kicks some ass, kicks all the Chinese robots' ass. But then he comes back from the dead later on.
Ant's note for this is Case versus Chinese Marines. All dead, parentheses, except Case returns like a baller.
Wait, where is this Chinese colony or whatever?
It's the second planet. So it's the frozen
So they've
planet
gone through the wormhole and established a place.
Yeah, so there's no Matt Damon in this. There's evil robots.
It's Chinese robots. Because so in the original script, it wasn't 12 people. It was like basically everyone was like, fuck it. So like every nation was just like, we need to help and do shit. And the place they landed was the Chinese space colony. But all the people died, and all the robots, the marine robots, set up everything on their own.
Basically, Jonathan Nolan was watching a lot of Doctor Who at the time.
It's very weird. In the original script, we get to see a planet get sucked into the black hole. Then we get to see the wormhole get sucked into the black hole. When they do go into the black hole or go back, everyone's in the ship. Like Brand, Doyle. Then they're in blackness. Literally blackness for like nothing for days. The montages, the video montages, a lot of the video montages and a lot of the dialogue between the kids and Cooper, exactly the same. Even the ending scenes, like the space scenes at the end in the future, the dialogue's almost exactly the same. Murph has the watch on throughout the movie. That's kind of like their thing. And Matthew McConaughey gets it back at the end. So when they're in this wormhole, right, or the black hole, there's these creatures that come in balls and come in front of them. So it's kind of like Matthew McConaughey was reaching out and shaking hands with Anne Hathaway at the end through the spaceship shit. It's kind of like this. And these beings kind of like show up and kind of like fuck with them. They kind of like go through their bodies and show how they can like warp space and everything, but they're fine and whatnot. Then Matthew McConaughey's like, here's a bunch of ball bearings. And basically the wormhole creatures are just like, you're fucked in like Morse code or however they convey it. Right? So then they're just like, oh, fuck. And then they, right as they're like, oh, we're fucked, then they basically because the creatures basically like take the ball bearings and like, this is where you were, this is where you came from Earth, this is where you were, the ice planets, this is where you are now, and this is where your spaceship is. And it basically just conveys how fucked they are because they're not near anything. So basically these creatures pull them to the end of this wormhole, which contains a flat disk of our universe. And at the end of that wormhole, there's a sphere above the disk which has a Chinese spaceship, right? And they dock the Chinese spaceship. They open up the fucking doors. Who do they see? Tars, motherfucker. Tars is there because Tars when he got sucked into the black hole originally, he got fucked around and then ended up in this Chinese spaceship. It took him 4,000 years to build this Chinese spaceship. Tars has been there for 300 of those years. Inside the spaceship, there's a black hole. What does the black hole do? It not only powers the spaceship, but it powers a Chinese time travel machine.
What?
Yes.
It sounds fan-made, man.
So the plan is for them to use the Chinese time travel machine to go back in time a couple years after they originally left, because they found out they have the answer. They have
data or whatever.
The data to make the gravitational thing. They have it. The Chinese figured it out. So basically, and then Brand is just like, after you're done, come find me. And Cooper's like, I promise. Right? And then Jonathan Nolan wrote, they kiss passionately, not wanting it to end, but knowing it must. Right? Okay, so then they're in the spaceship, and I don't know why I keep saying Matthew McConaughey, but Matthew McConaughey finds a probe in the space station, and he's like, holy shit, that looks exactly like the probe that I found on Earth. What the fuck, dude? And he's like, oh, and Doyle's like, let's go to fucking time travel, man. And Matthew McConaughey's like, wait, this is the same probe that I found on Earth. It has the same markings on it. This is the probe that found on Earth. And Doyle's like, let's time travel. And he's like, wait, it's not going to work. And Doyle's like, what? No, I want to get back home to my family. Matthew McConaughey's like, you can't get back home to your family. It's not going to work. We're going to die. And only the probe's going to make it. Because look, it's a probe. And Doyle's like, nah, fuck you. Fuck you, Matthew McConaughey. I'm going home. So Doyle ganks the probe with the spaceship, flies out. All right, Matthew McConaughey is in the separate spaceship, not the main Chinese one, right? So they're both fighting a spaceship. Doyle blows up, because he's fucked, but the probe goes through. So they can continue to see the vision of the probe. So they see the probe falling to Earth, and they see Matthew McConaughey pick it up with his kids. They see that view from their Chinese space station. Meanwhile, Matthew McConaughey gets blown to fuck and gets blown back to our universe through that plate. He's 200 years late. So that planet's fucked. But he lands on Earth, right? So Murph, back on the planet, Murph is 30 years old, and she finds this probe at NASA, because they dumped it to NASA after the dad left, because, they didn't want to deal with that shit. Then it jumps to Murph being 50, because Murph's a dude, right? So Murph's 50 years old, and he has an 18-year-old daughter. They have the probe. She finds the probe. She starts fucking with the probe, and she collapses the barn with gravity, because they figured it out. So they got the information, right? So then Matthew McConaughey lands on Earth 200 years late. He's like, all right, all his shit's there. The house is still there. It's kind of fucked up, but he's like, I remember this place. Passes out, wakes up in a spaceship, and guess what? Spaceship is named after him. It's fucking directly named after him. And they're like, it's a coincidence, don't you think? And so then Cooper is brought to his dying relative, who is his great-great-grandson. Not Murph at all. He gives Cooper the watch that Murph wore the entire time, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. This is the best part. After fucking Matthew McConaughey wakes up, sees his great-grandson die, that he doesn't care, he goes and meets with the dude, whoever runs the spaceship, and he's like, I want to become a fighter. Like, I got to go find Brand. Like, I'm an explorer. Give me a spaceship and let me go. And they're like, well, we kind of think you'd be a really good farmer. And they're like, so they set him up with another farm, and he's farming again. But here's the thing that they don't tell you: when Matthew McConaughey was on Earth originally, he released the fractal creature. So now he's a farmer on the space station, and the dude that runs the space station is just like, "Hey man, what'd you do on Earth? Because we're fucking some shit's going on at Earth. And he's like, I don't know what you mean, man. And they're like, well, all this shit is like spreading and shit's glowing now. Because these glowy creatures, and he's just like, you know what, man? This might be part of the plan. That might have been part of the plan all along. And he's just like, what? And Matthew McConaughey's just like, why don't you give me a ship? And then the guy's just like, whatever, fuck off. So then Matthew McConaughey steals a ship and goes finds Brand.
Wait, what the fuck? Okay, back it up. What did Matthew McConaughey release on Earth? The fractal creature?
The fractal creature that he the one fractal creature that he saved from that one dying planet. The water
from the
planet.
ice planet.
Why did
oh
he
yeah, the
release-
water planet. Yeah.
What's that?
What do you mean why did he
He was like
release-
trapped in ice.
Well, no. Okay, so this fractal creature he found basically, and he captured it in like a petri dish, and basically he's been holding on to that, and the fractal creature was there, and there's something that says that like the beings that helped them push them through the wormhole to this Chinese space station were connected with the fractal creatures. And then it also kind of insinuates that the whole plan all along was not only to save humanity through exploration or evolution, but also to save these fractal creatures by allowing them to inhabit a planet that, you know, humanity no longer sees as viable.
Oh, I gotcha. Weird. That's a very different movie.
Yeah, it's super different.